We're live. There we go. All right, monkey butt. You ready, buddy? You look ready. You got your blanket on. It's a little bit of a crisp evening. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Houston with a Problem. The show where I'm no longer allowed to talk about things. My brother called, apparently, the PR folk at MetaMaterials like, tell your brother to stop talking about MMTLP. So, there we go. So, sorry. I'm sure you guys have tons of questions and want to celebrate and talk about all sorts of MMTLP things because it's rocketing, and I can't say a word. So, we'll talk about everything else except for that. We can talk about CPI comes out tomorrow. We can all guess and say where it's going to be. I was wrong last month. I totally thought it was going to go down a smidge, and it went up. And what do we think? Going down or up? Up or down, down or up? And if it goes down, the SPY will go, woohoo! And if it goes up, but not as much as people feared, the SPY will go, woohoo! But if it goes up more than people feared, then the SPY is going to get hit hard and have a big old drop. So, curious as to see which way the SPY will go as a result of the news of the CPI. CPI is definitely going to be above 8. Food's still expensive. Gas is still, gas came down a bit, but it's starting to go back up. We just ordered our heating oil, and holy shit. 150 gallons, $810. That lasts us, if it's cold, maybe 2 months. So $400 a month for heating oil. Ugh, that's going to be a crappy winter, man. We're going to have to set that thermostat down low. Yeah, so let's after dark it and woohoo. All right. Turn you off. I think that might be 8 shows. Is it 8 shows? Are we setting records here? After dark intro. Whew. Okay. I'm just looking now. I'm seeing MMTLP over and over and over and over and over and over and over in the chat. Lost Waves wants to know, says, bruh, MMTLP, metamaterial. Will CPI drag us down? I don't know. I can't talk about that. Okay, I'm gonna throw out there CPI at 8.6. That's the total random number I'm throwing out there. CPI 8.6. We'll see how close we are to that. Might as well should have done a betting pool. Every month we should throw out a betting pool and see who gets CPI the best or whatever. That's true. I'm saying 8.6. I don't know what you guys are going to guess in there. Lost Waves also says MTLP made appearance on Wall Street Bets. Okay, we'll talk about that. They said beauty is in the eye of the beholder. More like Eye of Africa. God damn it. Just here to fucking... Ah! How many bodies do you think Garth Brooks is hiding? He's got the bodies of, what was that dude he was? Chris Gaines. So Chris Gaines is buried somewhere. Assume that guy's identity. And I don't know. Probably Chris Gaines' roadies too. So probably dozens of these hiding. Okay, Meat Stove, hello. Jesse Blackwell, Houston, if there's ever a flood and need to save 2 of every animal, I know a guy. God damn it. Meow meow. Elon thinks Taiwan should cave to the CCP. Also thinks Ukraine should give up. What the Well, I can tell you this much right now. Elon in September moved 85,000 vehicles from his Chinese plant to Chinese buyers. And he does not want to get kicked out of China because he's making a bunch of money selling cars to Chinese people. Also, I'm pretty sure he's lying through his teeth when he said he did not talk to Putin, because he used specifically language that only a Kremlin insider would use. Things like Khrushchev's mistake, guaranteeing water to Crimea, stuff like that. Like that's the stuff that only someone in the Kremlin would talk about. But also, prior to the invasion of Ukraine in 2014, 500,000 tons of lithium were discovered in Donbass. This is on top of the 160 trillion cubic feet of natural gas and, 50 billion barrels of oil that were discovered there as well. So a large part of the Russian invasion of that region was, one, to stop Ukraine from exploiting these petrochemical resources, and cutting off Russia from being able to export their natural gas and oil to Europe. So, Ukrainians could tap in that Nord Stream pipeline and pump their own stuff and sell it and cut out Russia, the middleman, which would make Europeans much happier because they wouldn't have to rely on Russia for the energy needs. So Russia invades Donbass, makes sure that they cannot exploit the oil and gas or the lithium that's there. But my guess is Putin talked to Elon, was like, Elon, you like lithium? I've got 500,000 tons of lithium. You tell everybody, let Russia keep Donbass, we make sure you get lithium. And Elon goes, okay. Why? Because Elon has no moral compass whatsoever, and does everything purely based upon a capitalistic response. So Elon is totally fine with China taking over Taiwan, because it means he gets to maintain his sales in a country of 1 billion people. The thing Elon didn't think about is that all the microchips that go into his cars are made in Taiwan. And if China invades, the Taiwanese are going to destroy every piece of tooling that has to do with making microchips, and no one's going to be able to make an electric car after that. So, Elon will be shooting himself in the foot in the long run. Plus, we'll probably make some sort of thing where you can't sell anything to China anyways, and Elon will be forced to shut his Chinese factories. So, he's just a big dum-dum. Anyway, so that's my... Elon will cave to whoever can get him his shit. I mean, it's the entire reason why he helped fund the overthrow of the Bolivian government so they can get access to lithium there. It didn't last long. The Bolivians took their country back. But that's... You've got the right thing and the wrong thing, and the wrong thing will make Elon money. He'll just go do that. He has no moral compass whatsoever. So he's just a little troll man, and that's what he is. And every single day, I know you guys, like the last year and a half on the show, I talk shit about Elon. He goes, why don't you like Elon very much? And every single day, he shows you exactly why I don't like Elon very much. He's just not a good person. He's not a good dude. He's got a lot of power at the moment because of the value of his stocks. But the minute Tesla resets and goes back down to where it should be trading, his power is out the window, and he's going to get desperate. Okay. Case Chapman going to bed. Sorry, my man. I know these late night shows are brutal for everybody, but they're the easiest time for me to do a show is this time of night at the moment. Okay. Guitar stuff. Lots of ways. White Garth Brooks. Also, Houston. Which celeb killed someone, and why is it Courtney Love? If Courtney Love killed anybody, is she doesn't remember it. It was probably during a dark period. It's probably in a rented car in a city she didn't know well, and she didn't mean to hit that guy in the parking lot of the Burger King. But also, who else would probably who would you throw out there as a possible murderer who got away with it and no one knew? It's a Hollywood person. Who would come to mind? Like the Ezra Miller dude for sure. There's probably bodies all over Hawaii from that guy. John Voight. I don't know. Who may get sued? Who will get sued by? Who other murderers can we assume there are out there? Okay. Terry Smith, I'm in the UK and my broker doesn't allow me to sell MMTLP. Will I miss out or will I still get cash dividend? I can't talk about this. But yes, you'll get a dividend. That's all I'll talk about. M to the E to the O to the W. Meow. Paratarian RC tweeted, people claiming the 90-day window for GME to recall their shares is the 19th. Do you think he will make a move? Well, the 19th is Saturday, right? Is that what 19th? What day is 19th? Oh, no, 19th next Wednesday. Sure. I don't know. I think the 19th would be T90 if the DTCC had not told all the brokers to flag the dividend as a forward split. Because they flagged it as a forward split, I don't know if the T90 will apply. And that might be reason enough for Ryan Cohn to go, yeah, give me my shit back. I hope he does something like that. It's legendary. It would solidify him as a bigger legend than he already is. So do it, Ryan. Okay. Girks, not so hot neighbor. Houston, so now Sears has the settlement stuff set up by the judge. What does that mean for us that hold shares? We have figured out what we might get. Also, MMTLP the moon. Okay. So the Sears settlement finalizes. I think they have until the 20th. Maybe it was the 17th. Crap. I can't remember what the filing said. But the creditors can appeal whatever is in that settlement, and they have until sometime next week to do that. If they don't appeal by that date, then they finalize everything on the 28th. And from there, I think Sears is done. I think they've paid off the creditors. The bankruptcy court had them put like $30 million into some account for their creditors, and then they do whatever they're going to do. I don't know if that means they tried to make Sears a thing again, or if that means they just sell everything and then give the shareholders what's left. I'm leaning towards they sell everything and give the shareholders what's left. The value of how much you'll get in your shares, I think, is going to be lower than it was a year ago, simply because the real estate market is on a downtrend, and a year ago it was not. So Get It Got had figured it was like $17 per share sometime last year. So let's say that real estate drops 50%, right? That's still $8.50 a share is somewhere around there. Even if it doesn't drop 50%, let's put the floor at $8.50 a share in that case. I don't know how long it would take them to do these real estate deals. They may find some fund or institution to just do it in bulk. Be like, hey, I've got X number of storefronts, warehouses, and office space around the country. I will sell it to you bulk at a 20% discount. Do you want it all now? And some company might go, all right, here's money. And then they just be done with it. So I think we just, like all things, we just got to wait and see. That's so much of what we do here is we wait and see. We do our thing. We go, let's speculate. And then we get it wrong 50% of the time. So wait and see. Unpaid overtime. It's give me my shit back, T90. I like that. I can get on board with that. Yeah, give me Monkey Butt, give me my shit back. You heard me. Monkey got a burger and a half tonight, plus a triple berry froyo. She is so full of good food right now. She's just a happy, content, happy dog. Dr. Spurgeon, the Sturgeon Surgeon, Tony D has issue with Houston. Where Houston about MMTLP, but I'm not in, so that's not my problem. Oh, Tony D? Is that De Niro? I don't know. We'll see. I can't talk about it. Sad Boy Corporate Houston. Why is it that technology seems to amplify instead of alleviate our suffering in society? Instead of having to write by hand, we can type faster, but are forced to work faster for longer. Part of that is the Protestant work ethic, which other countries don't necessarily suffer from as they do in the United States. This is one of those like historical dominoes that we don't realize explains why Americans are the way they are. The Protestants, when they came over to the U.S., were not fleeing religious persecution. They were fleeing from being prosecuted for their religious persecution. The Protestants were pretty terrible people. They had taken over the government in the UK and had essentially was trying to make the entire country a theocracy based upon their Puritan ideals. And the Puritans, they had this work ethic that was unrivaled. Like basically there was no time to be idle. You had to be working all the time. You didn't rest, you didn't recuperate, you work. They'd even hang their chairs on the wall so they wouldn't be tempted to sit down during the day except at meals. They would take the chairs down from the wall, sit down, have their meal, put the chair back up, and that way they couldn't have any rest as the day went on. And that Puritan ideal towards work ethic sort of bled through people that weren't necessarily Puritans themselves. So the few puritanical societies in the early Americas still had people who weren't Puritans in those societies, and they're expected to kind of like still obey the Puritan rules if they're going to live in those communities. And it instilled this sort of competitive work ethic in Americans that has stayed true to this day, because a lot of the really wealthy old money families came from the Northeast that were settled and industrialized, and those families spun out from there, the Harvard people and whatnot. And so that Puritan work ethic of always going above and beyond the call of duty, the do more than what you're asked, things like that, went from there. So when machinery came along that alleviated some of the work someone had to do, the idle hands makes devil's work, or whatever that saying goes, they had to find something else. So they were expected to not only produce what they were producing before, but now they got to produce more because the machine's doing most of the work. So they got to do something else in the meantime. And this is one of the reasons why adding technology, you will see a boost in productivity, but the amount of hours people work are still going up. Think about like doctors, right? So if you want to become a doctor, you got to go do a residency. And during a residency is almost like a hazing ritual for years, where these little baby doctors, these people that they graduate med school, they haven't officially like licensed doctors yet, and they got to do their residency for a few years and cycle through whatever, expertise they're going to be doing. They are expected to work 24-hour shifts, several shifts in a row for days at a time without breaks, proper food, hydration, whatever. And it's like, you have to do this because I had to do this. It doesn't make them better doctors. Anything, it probably puts people's lives at risk if they're doing that. But you're expected to like run this gauntlet for years, and finally they go, we bestow upon you the doctorate. And all of a sudden you are now a doctor. You've probably forgotten so much stuff because you were delirious and sleep deprived and malnourished. And you probably didn't learn as much as you should over those years because of the stress and strain that was put on your body. But, Protestant work ethic, must produce. And it's just such a weird thing. Like, we are in desperate need of doctors in this country. We need doctors and nurses, all sorts of stuff. We have X number of people graduating every year from medical school, but Y number of residency positions for them. So that means every year there's an appreciable portion of people who graduate from medical school who do not get placed in a residency program because there's no room, right? They're totally qualified. They graduated medical school. They passed all their exams, everything, but there's no spot for them to go through the apprenticeship program of being official doctor. And now we have to toss those people aside. But at the same time, every single solitary residency program could easily do 8 hours a day, 5 days a week and put a whole nother group in there of residents. So we aren't saving lives, saving time, or saving money by not putting these people through residency programs because we want to work the ones that are there so hard and for so long because, work ethic or whatever, that we are actually having an inefficient system and not replacing the number of doctors we need for the fact that our population is growing and aging. It's just dumb. I mean, think about you've got somebody who works, I don't know, construction or in a factory or a plumber or whatever, and they're working an 80-hour week, and they're making all this overtime, and it's ridiculous. You could pay that person 25% more, work them 40 hours, and hire a second person. And both of those people make as much as that one dude who is working 80 hours a week, and your production has gone up twice as much. So, I could rant about these things kind of aimlessly for a long time. But just because we mechanize things does not necessarily mean we're relieving ourselves of work. We are making it so we now have to find something else to do while that machine does the work. That makes sense? Yeah. Okay. Meow Meow. Kira Sedgwick is descended from one of the dudes who signed the Declaration of Independence, adds to 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Kira Sedgwick was roommates with my best friend's mom at one point. So is that 2 degrees or that 1 degree? I think it's 2 degrees because she's the 1 degree, I'm the 2nd degree. So I'm 2 degrees from Kira Sedgwick on that one. Or, no, Kira Sedgwick, maybe it's 3 degrees because I don't know if my friend's mom ever met Kevin Bacon. It was before she was married. Anyway, so let's safely call it 3 degrees because I don't know if she was ever invited to the wedding or anything. But, yeah. Huh. All right. Paratarian, what's your favorite aspect of the Expanse? Probably, and this is the part I talked about a bit in my master's thesis, is the idea that if you allow multiple generations to be born and raised in outer space, they're no longer going to see themselves as Earthlings. And they're no longer going to have a desire to make money for people who are not them. And this stems back to, the colonial revolt against the British in the Revolutionary War, right? So you have these land grants that are made, and someone is like, okay, Sir Penn, you're going to have this land grant that goes from Pennsylvania to the Delaware River all the way across the country in this long, skinny land grant. And you can do whatever you need with this land grant. Okay, Puritans will give you this chunk of Massachusetts. Okay, someone you get this chunk of Georgia. And there were these land barons. They're growing cotton. They're growing cash crops. They're starting industrial things, building parts, shipping stuff, making, having mines, doing all these resources and remitting a lot of this wealth back to this little island in Europe. And you get from, 1609, when the first settlements were really appearing, and 160 years later, you're several generations into people that no longer identify themselves as English or British, and now identify themselves purely as American. And they're like, why are we, someone who's never set foot in the British Isles, why are we remitting so much of our wealth back to this king, this silly little king that's across an ocean who we'll never meet? He'll never come and visit us. He'll never, why are we doing all this stuff for him? Screw that guy. I want to keep my shit. And in the spirit of doing that, we're like, you know what? Lock and load. And we go to war with them to declare our own independence. The idea in the Expanse is you've got people that are born and raised in the moon, people are born and raised in the asteroid belt, people are born and raised on the Mars, and after several generations, they no longer see themselves as members of Earth. And if Earth is where the business is centralized, the ownership of all the companies is centralized, and you have these people that are 3, 4, 5 generations into living in space, extracting all these resources and sending the wealth of it back to Earth, they're not going to do that anymore. So one of the solutions is you have to limit how long people are in space and how much they can go to space. So if you don't want entire generations growing up in space and all of a sudden, I'm an Earthling, I'm a Moonling, I'm not an Earthling, I'm going to keep all of this helium-3 for myself and screw the rest of you, then you're going to have wars between planets of humans. And so you might have to say, like, all right, you were allowed at most 6 weeks at a time on the moon, and allowed to do it 4 times, and that's it. You're never allowed to go to the moon ever again after those 4 visits, and that's how long you're there. And so you have to have this rather inefficient workforce that might make, a lifetime's worth of money in those 6 weeks, just because you can't afford the political ramifications of having someone go to the moon, get married, have babies, those babies grow up on the moon, they have children and so on. And, once you get people growing up on the moon, physically they can't come back to Earth because the gravity will just crush their powdery little bird bones. So you can't reintegrate somebody who was a baby on the moon, grows up there, becomes an adult. They're never going to be able to live on the Earth. Their little lungs would collapse, their bones would snap. It just won't work. So they're stuck. They're stuck as moonlings for as long as they live. So that to me, that's like the coolest socioeconomic explanation or example of the Expanse. And I really, really appreciated that part of the world building that they had in it was that identifier, that almost like ethnic identifier of I am separate from human beings because I'm a Belter or a Moonanite or Martian or whatever. I like that part. I like that part a lot. Javi A. Houston, do you think the push hope on the data tomorrow morning, or we see another 52-week low for another 830 plus companies like reported on Monday? I was talking about because of CPI. CPI gets released at 8:30 Eastern time. So I think CPI is going to go up, but it's not going to be a scary go up. Because the US dollar is so strong compared to other currencies around the world, and things like shipping are bottoming out. So if you want to move something across the ocean, a container across the ocean, a year ago it was like $18,000 to ship a container, and right now it's like $3,000 because the US dollar is so strong. I think little things like that may squash a little bit the inflation we experience. So that's why I'm saying like 8.5, 8.6, somewhere in there, which won't be crazy high to crash the SPY, but it won't be enough for them to go, oh, woohoo! Well, you know what? It's not as bad as we thought. Let's just green, and raise it up again. It might be enough to stave off total collapse as it comes, but I was totally wrong last month. I was like, I'll be like 8.1 and ended up being closer to 9, right? Meow meow. YouTube is censoring my Amber Heard super chats. Keywords: Elon, neither slime, recurring, rhymes with Slurpees. Your thoughts? I mean, the dude's got 12 kids, so he's gotten around. So good for him on that one. Beyond that, man, I don't know. Slurpees. I'm not your friend. Aloha all. So are we going to discuss your tweet? Which tweet? Which tweet is that? I tweet a lot. Lay it on me. Paratarian Bofa offered me a job at a very good wage, but I'd be working for the enemy and actively worrying about the bank collapsing. What are your thoughts utilizing them to buy GME? I mean, if you get a signing bonus, and a severance guarantee. If they're paying you well, they'll do both. So, my friend Kim was the head of human resources for Washington Mutual. She had taken the job 5 months prior to them being seized by the FDIC and then being taken over by Chase. So then all of a sudden she didn't have a job anymore. And a whole bunch of people she worked for didn't have jobs anymore. she landed on her feet. She ended up becoming like the head of HR for T-Mobile or something after that. So, you know, you still can't be like, I worked at Bank of America back when that meant something. And people go, oh, all right. It's not so bad. I mean, the dude who's the head of marketing for AMC was the head of marketing for Washington Mutual, Blockbuster, and Radio Shack before he became the head of marketing for AMC. So, you know, working at a company that went under does not necessarily impede you from getting another job before you destroy that company as well. So you got, there's options out there. Plus, if you can like take that signing bonus and dump it into a bunch of good stock and watch it like 10x for you, then, you know, screw Bank of America. Invite Kanye over. Who's looking for a bank? Yeah. Didn't Chase close Kanye's bank account? They're like, we don't want this guy banking with us anymore. Oops. Dr. Spurgeon, the sturgeon surgeon, Tony D says you're out to lunch with MMTLP. There's no way we'll hit your targets. He said, make a few bucks, get out, because it's not going to get your numbers. Don't shoot the messenger. I mean, we'll see. I mean, if you're dealing with 3 to 5 billion barrels of oil. God damn it, I'm talking about this in 6 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. Houston, stop talking about it. Stop. I'm going to get a message from my brother right now. I was like, shut the fuck up. I'm not talking about it. I'm ignoring it. Moving on. Okay. Houston, let's talk Super Mario. What's your favorite weapon of choice in Mario Kart 64 and favorite course? Never played it, but I'd like to find out on an emulator. I kind of like the Calamari Desert. Some great places you can like cut corners if you've got like a star or whatever, or the little jet mushrooms. But my favorite thing to do is to get green turtle shells and then fire them behind me and hit the person behind me. Because they never see it coming, and it's really satisfying when you fire that sucker behind you and it just hits them. They're like, "What the hell?" That's my favorite thing to do. If you don't know, you can pull the little lever back, hit the fire button, and it won't shoot forward; it'll shoot backwards, and it's just fun. So I recommend that. Jason Blackwell, hey Houston, I hate spiders so much. Ending out of the righty-lefty story was like a beautiful Hollywood ending. What? The ending of the righty and lefty story was like a beautiful Hollywood. Oh, you're talking about... I know what you're talking about. I don't know. Lost Waves. Also, happy birthday to you and to Mortal Kombat turning 30. Who is your favorite character in Mortal Kombat? Oh, criminy. I don't know if I have a favorite in Mortal Kombat. Maybe Sub-Zero? Oh, icing people is always kind of fun. The latest Mortal Kombat is friggin' gory. It is hilarious. Did you guys ever see the Conan O'Brien before the Super Bowl with Marshawn Lynch and what's that big goofball's name? The tight end for New England. What's that guy's name? Yeah, the guy that spiked football and whatever. It's totally my brain's not getting names mucky. It's not. But anyway, Conan O'Brien has him playing Mortal Kombat, and like it's so gory that Marshawn Lynch is like, I can't even do this anymore. It's horrible. Gronkowski, dang it, thank you. And like, which I find so like cute and endearing because everyone know like Marshawn is like hardcore from Oakland, rolls with the crew and everything, and like Mortal Kombat was like too much for him. I just thought it was adorable. He's like, nah, brah, I can't play this anymore. Wheat Wild, this street is insane. The amount of live great music is mind blowing. I have to come back here and spend a weekend. You're in Nashville right now, right? Let's see where we are. Shaboom. Oh, gotta open up that. Turn on the Google Earth. There we go. Boom. I have never been to Nashville. So right there, that's where you are. Yeah, Wheat Wild's on vacation, enjoying America, rented a big pickup truck, and now he's rednecking his way across America. So we got Bridgestone Arena. And what's this? What park is this? That's kind of a cool looking thing. Fresh Picket Market. Huh. All right. Any of you from Nashville want to go hang out with Wheat Wild while he wanders America? Groovy. All right. I have several friends that have moved to Nashville because they're musicians, and I still have not been there. Hi, and it's your friend. When HW says he's an hour behind in chat, we can single out Lost Waves. I'm an hour behind in chat. 50 minutes behind in chat. Holy crap. Okay. Lost Wave, dude. Jason Blackwell, Arachnophobia is legit scary. An awesome, fun watch with John Goodman. Oh, we're talking about Arachnophobia, the movie. Yeah, that's the only movie that ever gave me the heebie-jeebies. Even though it's like a PG-13 movie, spiders just for me. And I try to be as tolerant of them as I can. Like, there's two spiders that have made little homes on either corner of the window in the kitchen. And I'm going with electric paddles, and it's fly season right now, so I zap the little flies that happen to be in the kitchen. And if they stay on the paddle, I fling them onto the spider web, watch the spider just inject them and start wrapping them up. It's pretty cool to watch. But if they leave that specific corner, it's smashing time. That's where they have to live. They've been relegated to that particular part of the house. And if they leave that spot, I do not appreciate it at all. They're allowed those two corners in the window. And that's it. Yeah. Okay. BOFH Houston, how soon do you think Trump will be indicted? I'm thinking not before January due to special master fiasco, needing to get a perfect case, and the holiday season forcing time off. I think it's curious that the news that got released. So what got reported today was one of the employees at Mar-a-Lago had told investigators, like, no, Trump never had us move any boxes. And then the FBI got the security camera footage, which showed that employee and others moving the boxes. And then he had to go back and be like, yeah, he told me to move the boxes and then told me to tell you that we didn't move the boxes. And so that is really damning. Because that's another person who could be charged with lying to the FBI. And now they got to turn state's evidence against Trump to not face their own conviction. So that's another like chink in the armor there, and it's coming. And the news that came out that Trump basically took the documents to blackmail or to extort info against him about the Russia investigation is also pretty gnarly. So he needs to be indicted. He just needs to. He needs to be indicted. It's just, we cannot have people sitting above the law. If you commit crimes, you should get charged for it. And stealing classified documents, possibly selling them or allowing access to those documents by foreigners is really bad. It's bad enough if you're just taking documents that belong to the U.S. government. If you or I did that, we go to prison. So taking super sensitive documents is even worse. And the whole argument of like, well, I declassified them. You still aren't allowed to have them. They're not yours to have. They belong to the National Archives. Even if you declassified them, you can't have them. So it's silly. It's a silly thing. Fantastic Jess. Oh, that's like Fantasticles? Fantastic Jess. Jon Stewart and Gary Gensler podcast today. A lot of good questions. A few real answers. Most disappointed he had no answer for the FTD and blockchain system. I only saw the little clip that talked about with payment for order flow. So I haven't been able to watch the rest of it yet. His payment for order flow answer was kind of, a lot of it was saying, like, we just don't have the ability to take on these big banks. And Jon Stewart's like, so then you're going to pick for the low-hanging fruit, like the Kim Kardashians and stuff? He's like, yeah. The question I would have asked if I were Jon Stewart about that payment for order flow and the whole Kim Kardashian thing was like, why do you fine, Barclays 2% of the money they made, and you fine Kim Kardashian 600% of the money she made? Like, where is the fairness in that? Why are you hitting this person harder who actually didn't lie? They told everyone they were making an ad. This was an ad. I was paid for it. They just didn't specify I was paid this much for this ad in the ad, which is a weird thing to require someone to do, because it's not like when a Nissan commercial pops up on the TV, they got to tell you how much they pay the TV station for that Nissan commercial. That's just weird. But why are you finding her 600% of the money she made off of doing that ad, and then finding Barclays 2% on the $17.7 billion they made selling stocks that don't exist, which should be an offense that strips them of their broker license. They should not be allowed to sell stock if they're going to do that. They're going to violate the law and sell naked like that. But instead they're like, oh, just pay us 2%. Less than profit on a normal company is 2%. And you're looking at 9% is normally profit or something. These guys are probably making way more than that because they're selling stock they never had. They're just counterfeiting. And I wish Jon Stewart had just called me ahead of time, and I would have been like, okay, so this is what we're going to talk about. And then when he ignores you or answers something else, you're going to hit him hard with this one again. Because I know he did that when he did the interview with that anti-trans lady in Arkansas. He just dismantled that woman. And he could have done it again with Gary Gensler here. But at the same time, there's an article that came out today in, was it Forbes or Bloomberg? That basically the Wall Street is gearing up to sue the hell out of the SEC if they try to change the rules of trading in any way, shape, or form, and that Gary Gensler is looking to like overhaul everything. So he might not be able to necessarily talk about the things he's going to overhaul because, well, they're going to be getting sued by everybody. But my guess is there might be some sort of decision about dark pools that comes out that's different than what we were expecting. There might be something about payment for order flow, but I don't know. Eliminating dark pools kind of eliminates payment for order flow in a way. But I really think we need to end the loophole reg show and just get rid of naked selling. No one, no hedge funds, no individuals, no market makers. No one can sell stock they don't have. If you want to sell it, you got to borrow it. And if you borrow it, you got to report it. And if you report it, you got to keep reporting it as long as you have not closed or covered your position. Just keep reporting. So I could throw my hope behind everything. Doesn't mean shit. Hope in one hand, take crap in the other, see which one fills up first. So, where was I? It's going to be 1.5 hours behind. I probably will be. I'm sorry. Well, we're going to go fast because I'm going to try my best to ignore anything that says MMTLP or metamaterial on there, and we'll just keep going from there. Money printer go brr. I think CPI, good or bad, will not affect anything in a big way. The Fed hikes for the coming months are priced in. MMTLP and MMT will run. Yeah, but everyone likes to manipulate the CPI. Because remember, was it June or July? People were saying, oh, CPI's report came out. CPI's can be 10.1. Everyone's expecting this crazy, awful CPI report. It ended up being worse than the month before, but because it wasn't 10.1, it was 8 point something, everyone's like, oh, that's okay. Green! And the SPY rocketed. So Yeah, there's always someone manipulating something in there, and the number of spy puts that have been getting picked up the last few days makes me think that they're going to push it down some more. But then again, the overall market is going to go down for the next 6 months anyway, because we got the Bank of England telling all the pension funds they have until Friday to figure their shit out, and the Bank of England is the one who screwed over the pension funds. They're like, well, we're going to crash the pound and kill our bond market. Oh, look at that. You guys are screwed. Well, I guess we'll buy some of your bonds for a couple of days, and then you just got to figure your stuff out. They call them gilts over there. Just call them bonds, man. And the pension funds, which don't operate on margin, are crashing really hard because the bonds are worth nothing. The Bank of Japan hasn't sold a bond in 4 days. They're trying. No one wants them. So the bond market is just... So raising interest rates a whole bunch is trying to entice people into the bond market. But the interest rate percentage is still below that of inflation. So now, like, the Federal Reserve is losing money on every bond transaction. And then you got, Citadel and others that are shorting the bond market. They're selling a whole bunch of bonds that don't exist, and naked shorting U.S. Treasury bonds. So that's affecting, the supply and demand on the bonds. You might have, Saudi Arabia dumping U.S. bonds, China dumping U.S. bonds. China won't pay off the bonds they owe everybody. So those bonds are worthless. The whole bond market is screwed. And because every single one of those bonds has to be paid off in U.S. dollars everywhere, the U.S. dollar is going to remain super strong, and all these other countries are going to suffer. So that's just absolutely... We're in such a weird, unique market crash that in the past, we could always point to, like, why a market's crashing. Houses got inflated, and we made mortgages too easy with crappy interest rates, and everyone defaulted. Cool. Well, we got that. We invested too much money into Chinese bonds, and I was going to pay that off. We printed too much money due to COVID, trying to stave off the collapse of the economy there. We've got COVID killed a bunch of people and forced them into disability or whatever, and now supply chain's all screwed up, and we've got potential World War III happening, and a third of the world's food supply can't get to people, and entire continents are going to freeze to death this winter. We have so many things that if any one of those went, the entire global economy would collapse. But now we've got like 10 of them that are all happening at once. Is just wild. It's so crazy. Like, just think about that for a second. This is like the type of writing you would have for a series finale of a crazy soap opera. If you were writing this thing out in Hollywood, you said, okay, we're going to have a food crisis, an energy crisis, a bond crisis, an inflation crisis, nuclear war, and you're like rolling stuff out, the head of the show would be like, dude, take like 3 or 4 of those out of there. It's getting a little unbelievable right now. And, but it's happening. That's where we are. RJ Lowe, opinion on Texas College, TCU, or your Revlon position. I have no opinion on Texas College, like sports-wise, or just as a college in general. I'm sure they're fine. I never played them in sports, so I have no idea what they're like. So my brain is blank when it comes to an opinion on TCU. Revlon position. I've got Revlon calls. I don't have Revlon shares. I've got calls for January. At what, like $8 or something? They're worth less than what I paid for them because Revlon's bouncing under $5 right now. But I think it's going to pop at some point. I mean, all this stuff's got to pop. They shorted the heck out of it. Okay. Iggy Lemon, the Padres beat the Dodgers tonight. What are your predictions for the next couple of games? Man, Padres beat Clayton Kershaw. That's a big get right there. It would have been awesome if the Mariners had beat Justin Verlander, but no, they had to blow it. Walk-off home run the 9th after being up 7-3. I mean, come on, guys. You're supposed to have a bullpen that holds. But I think putting, my roommate and I were talking about this, putting Robbie Ray out there, and Robbie Ray's like, I'm going to challenge him, and then just throws a fastball in the middle. You don't do that to a dude who's one of the best hitters in baseball. You just don't. That's just poor managing right there. Just leave Muniz in there. Let him throw 100 miles an hour just off the plate and walk the dude if you have to, because he's already a winning run. So you may as well pitch the next guy. Once you get through Altuve and what's his butt, then you got a bunch of dudes that they can hit home runs, but their batting average isn't that high, and you're okay after that. Okay. Andrew Stewart, Houston can't catch the late night shows. I'm sorry, Andrew. Someday I'm going to be able to go back to doing like daytime shows more often. But yeah. BLFH, what would you say your style of options investing is? It seems like you prefer to play swings and cycle on a week by week basis. It depends on the stock. I usually like to buy at minimum like 6 weeks out. Maybe a couple of months, just because I'm never gonna be able to pinpoint when a volatile stock does its thing. So it's good to just have it in case, we get a jump somewhere in there. I will play weeklies if I think there's going to be a gamma squeeze. So let's say GameStop goes above 40 by Friday, right? So tomorrow and Friday all of a sudden just goes crazy and it's above $40 on Friday. And we know it's going to push several million shares into the money. I will buy weeklies for that Monday and Tuesday, and it'll pop again, and then I'll get rid of those. I will play. That's the only time I'll play weeklies. I won't on a spec think, you know what, this week is the week it's going to rise without having, any gamma behind it. So that's why I'll just buy further out. There are some where, like with Revlon, I don't know when it's going to pop, so I bought for several months out for January, and we'll see if it pops sometime between now and then. I hope it does. And there's other things like, say a stock that I can't mention, right? And it's trading for below $1, but I think it's worth much more than that. I might buy several options that are maybe a year ahead that are, little lotto tickets for that stock. So that if it does happen to have an explosion sometime between now and a year from now, then woohoo, right? And so I'll do that. But I like to pick the volatile ones because they do that. They go up and down, and then you can play them up, get puts, play it down. Get calls, play it up, get puts, play it down. BOFH, I prefer to get ahead of trends that I know will happen, but not necessarily when, and to make sure I can come out ahead of my cost basis when the movement hits. Yeah, yeah. It sucks too. Sometimes I'll buy something that's like 2 months out, and I think that's a pretty good price, and the volatility will kind of vanish for a while, and the price will like half. I'm like, I could have got about twice as many more. But then, volatility kicks back in and it starts to go up once more. All right. Does Dr. Spurgeon, the sturgeon surgeon, this is Lost Waves, given the coordinates for the Eye of Africa? This is where he says Garth Brooks' bodies are buried. Oh, goodness gracious. I just lost everything. Okay. Prontal, Houston, where do you see major U.S. universities in 100 years? Oh, man, I haven't thought about that. Well, we're probably going to need twice as many of them. Just because a college is only effective to X number of students. When you start to get to too many students, it's almost impossible to give them a good instruction. So, I think when you get to like 35, 40,000 students in major universities, that's pretty much as high as you can go without destroying the quality of instruction. I mean, even like these freshman lecture classes that have 700 students in them are insane. I've had to lecture in a classroom that big, and it's really weird. Like, I'm the TA giving a lecture to 700 students, and there's like 10 of us TAs and a professor who is the professor for the class, but students have never met him in their entire lives, just the TAs doing all the work. And then we've got to like grade 700 homework assignments every week and split it up amongst the 10 of us. It's weird. It's a weird, very, very weird system. But when you get into the upper division courses where people are now getting to their specialties in their field of study and they're learning, let's say they're in physics and they're in a high level orbital mechanics class or modern mechanics or, electrodynamics or something, like you need the personal instruction. You need a class of 10 to 20 people at most, because the professor and the TAs for half that class will have to be able to give each person almost individual instruction on the specificities of these intricate things before it really clicks. And you can't do that with like 700 people. So I think a big thing the US really needs to invest in is a lot more colleges. Washington State is kind of recognizing that, and they're slowly turning a lot of their community colleges into four-year colleges. So like Edmonds, where I teach, used to be Edmonds Community College. They took off the community and just call it Edmonds College now because they're offering many four-year degrees. And it started out with sort of these weird sisterhood or apprenticeship I don't know what to call it. What would you call it, Monkey? Cooperation agreements. So like you might be at a community college getting your 2-year degree, but then they offer like, hey, through Western Washington University, you can actually get your 4-year degree without having to go to Western Washington University and stay in your community and you get your business degree or something. And slowly they brought in faculty that wasn't just like telecommuting classes that were being offered at the school, but slowly they had like a professor who could teach a 400 level class at the community college. And all of a sudden, you're finding that you can get your bachelor's in nursing, your bachelor's in engineering, your bachelor's in business, your bachelor's in, finance or accounting and stuff. And so a lot of these community colleges are slowly becoming 4-year colleges that are incredibly affordable. It's taking a lot of burden off of the big universities. So the big universities can focus a lot more on a lot of specialization stuff, whether it's computer science, physics, chemistry, dentistry, whatever. And I think that's sort of a solution. But at the same time, if you've got a state like Washington, where the population 40 years ago was 2 million people, and you had 5 state universities, and now the population is 8 million people, and you still have 5 state universities, you have to start building more. California did a big thing of it in the 1960s, and they built a whole bunch of college. You got UC Irvine, Northridge, Davis. All these schools got built around that time because they saw this huge population boom, and they needed to put them somewhere. They need to educate the population, and we probably have to do another cycle of that in a lot of places around the country. We need more schools. We need more educated people, and we got to do something with them. So in 100 years, we need more, a lot more, especially if we're still importing tons of students from around the world and educating them as well. Okay. BOFH Dr. Spurgeon, the sturgeon surgeon. I'm suddenly reminded of a teacher I had in high school who would throw dry erase marker caps at people who weren't paying attention. I mean, I had someone who would hit people with chalk. I had that too. Pronto, good point. I hope he gets to talk about the cost of education versus future income. I guess both types of schools suffer the same way, just different scales. Also, I think college education should be free. Tuition free. Just, you don't pay tuition to go to elementary school. You don't pay tuition to go to middle school. You don't pay tuition to go to high school. If you can get into a college, you should not pay tuition to go to college as well. And, you know, give them a little stipend so they don't have to starve to death and they can learn stuff. Boom. And then they graduate without being indebted. And they can take on, you know, that 6-month internship and have a way into their into their careers rather than graduating, being stuck with $150,000 in loans and taking any job they can get at the time because they owe money. And that can set their careers and their expertise back, and it harms our nation as a whole. Just do what other countries do and don't burden 22-year-olds with $150,000 in debt. Like, it's easy. It costs us so much money to service all that debt, and we could just pay for people's tuitions. Just like you're going to school, the school just gets a budget every year, at least if they're a state school. Private schools are a different thing. But, yeah, just educate people. David Springer, Tribus. Cheers to your 210th show. It is my 210th show, Monkey. Monkey, it's our 210th show. Woo. The last hot sauce. Hey, can you clarify T90? Dave Lauer says it's only when shorts close their position. Well, I mean, if someone offers a dividend, right? Let's say they offer a $2 dividend on their stock, but you shorted the stock. So now you owe that $2 to whoever you borrowed the stock from or whoever you sold the naked synthetic to, your payment in lieu. And if it gets to 90 days and you have not remitted that dividend, right? You either have to close your position or you're forced to pay that dividend because your brokerage probably covered it at some point and you owe the brokerage at this point. So if you get to that 90 days and you're like, no, I'm not going to pay that, then the brokerage sells your shit and forces you to close your position. They go, well, we're going to sell the thing you have. We're going to foreclose your house, do what we can, and we're going to get this money and give it to who you owe it to. If you owe a dividend of 1/8 share because you shorted a whole bunch of stock and you don't pay that 1/8 share, the brokerage had to create a synthetic, right? Because they're like, well, we got 12 billion of these AMC stocks. I got to put some 1/8 shares in here. And those are all fake. They all have like a 90-day time scale on it. And you are now delinquent on the payment of that dividend. We need it. And you got to put an 1/8 share, a real 1/8 share into that account. And the hedge funds are like twirling their hair and they're like, no, I'm just not going to do that. Well, after 90 days, the broker goes, well, I guess I'm going to foreclose on you. I'm going to sell everything you have so I can go out in the market and get these 1/8 shares and put them in all these accounts I had to make the fake ones for because you are delinquent on your obligation. You're already in default. So that's the whole T90 thing. There's several rules, whether FINRA rules or whatever, that show that if you borrowed or you generated synthetics, the person you borrowed from, which essentially is the broker in this case, like you sell something that doesn't exist, the broker has to take shares out of their customer accounts and hand them over to the other brokers to cover the transaction so it can clear. You owe your brokerage. You are in debt to your brokerage at that point. So your broker has the right, under the rules of the market, that they can liquidate you at any time you're in default. So if you get to T90 and you're in default, which is why 0.72 is looking at being liquidated. The owner of the, Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets, he got to 90 days recently and the brokerage is like, we're liquidating you. So, T90, when you owe obligations is a bad thing. And when these dividends get issued, that clock starts. because you bought a bunch of stock and you owe on it now. And it's a different obligation than just the stock itself. So that's the whole point behind it. That same teacher had a semi-functional mini guillotine in his room. I called it semi-functional because the blade couldn't drop. Well, that makes it not quite so functional. All right. Hey, I'm now to the point where we got to start the show. That's where we are. Adam Watkins got something for us. Where are we going here? Looks like we're going somewhere in the west. Perhaps 8115. What's that? Nevada? Utah? Bam, bam, bam. Oh. Because... that's going to be a comma. Boom. There we go. We're in... looks like Nevada. Where is this? This is Groom Lake? Area 51? Yeah, it looks like Groom Lake to me. Area 51. Yep, there we are. Okay. Yeah, so this is a top secret airfield. I've been to the edges of it. Down here, I don't know which road. There's a road out here that you get to a point. There's no fence, just a white sign that says "Don't cross this point." And it turns out if you cross that point, a white Jeep comes out of nowhere and tells you to go back to the road. So they are monitoring everything out here. Any of you guys go to the Let's Storm Area 51 thing? O'Neill, Houston, Steve Cohen's .72 was liquidated. I don't think they were, but there was a threat they were going to be if they didn't come up with liquidity. And my guess is he probably came up with some, at least temporarily, to cover his positions. Anyway, yeah. So Groom Lake, apparently they do experimental stuff out here. What we got out here? We got like a couple of, I can't tell if those are what, C-130s or something. Maybe C-17s. Maybe C-17s. They look like jet engines. We got a couple of prop planes. We've got a whole bunch of hangars. Who knows what's in those hangars? A couple of fighter jets. Those look like maybe F-4s. Maybe for training. What else can we see out here? A couple of helicopters. So Groom Lake also has runways in the dirt out here. So they've got emergency runways laid out in the dry lake bed. And yeah. But apparently, supposedly everything's underground. It's all underground here. All sorts of top secret stuff underground. So any of these hangars could be housing all sorts of nefarious things, right? There's not very many planes out in the open for being a somewhat major airbase. And for it being a major airbase, there also isn't much in the way of... You don't see many houses. You don't see quite a commissary. Looks like barracks. These look like barracks here, but not like a grocery store, a movie theater, Burger King, things like that most of these kind of major bases would have. I want to go prospecting all over the place out here. There's so much mineralization. We can just tell by the changes of the colors in rock that all these contact zones are gonna have tons of mineralization. All these I want to go melotecting through these washes. I bet I can find tons of gold out here. Just look at that sucker. Oh, I can find so much gold with a melotector. Girl. I bet there's all sorts of gold out here. Yeah. That was a KFC up here. Okay, they got a KFC. The town of Rachel. Kentucky Fried Chicken. All right. Alien Cowpoke Gas General. So you have a KFC and a gas station that's, I don't know, 30 miles north. Groovy. Fantastic. Okay. Have you guys watched After Dark theme at 1.5x? It's the best. BFH Houston, speaking of thermostats, I just got my utility bill today. It was about $30 to $50 lower than I was expecting, and then I remembered I haven't set my thermostat to heat yet. Yeah, that's one thing I'm looking forward to right now is that It's still really warm outside for October. It might be 80 degrees on Saturday. Like, what? October 15th, and we're looking at a possibly 80 degree day. So if that keeps going for a bit, then maybe we'll save on heating oil. I know Monkey Butt would appreciate being able to have more bones and treats. But that's one aspect of global warming where, like, all right, if the winter never gets cold, then I don't have to pay for all this heating oil. I was in Catholic school in the 80s, so marker caps are nothing. Beach Bum, Houston, what are your thoughts on rumors that Ken Griffin attempting to take Yellen's job? Ken Griffin would love that. He will never be able to do it under a Democratic administration, though. Ken Griffin is the single largest campaign contributor to Republican campaigns right now. He is super friends with Ron DeSantis. So if DeSantis makes a 2024 run and somehow becomes president, then Ken Griffin has a good chance of becoming Treasury Secretary. But as long as a Democrat is in, then I don't think Ken Griffin stands a chance in hell. Because the Democrats are not going to give a role like that to somebody who funds their opposition, who's like the funder of their opposition. Ron DeSantis is Ken Griffin's number one man. He's the largest campaign contributor. So I can totally see it under DeSantis administration, but not at all under the current Democratic one. Adam Watkins, my kid dressed up in one of those alien holding you suits and reminded me of Area 51. It's a secret, so shh. Those things are hilarious. Make people look like aliens running around with you. I like those. Those just crack me up. Just me. It's Belgium. Can't find northwest, southeast. So we're going somewhere in Belgium. What? What do you mean? Oh, that's because the Europeans swap the periods and commas compared to America, and a lot of times Google does not like that. There we go. We're in Belgium. We are on... Is this a canal? What is this? What is this thing? Looks like a pipeline or something. But that looks like a lock system. So it's got to be... What are you? What are you? What is this thing? Ronkierland. What is a Ronkierland? Oh, looks like it's elevated. I thought this thing was dug. So this was like an aqueduct? Is that what we got here? Let's get a little man here. Put a little man right there. See what this thing's all about. Okay. Whoa. Oh, it is an elevated canal. What the heck? Okay. Exit street view. That's huge. Holy smokes. So can I take my little man and put him like here on this dirt road and see what that's all about? So whoa, look at that thing. It's like an air traffic control tower for a canal. So it looks like that's downhill. So they're pumping water up into this thing. So water's going up into this and then making for the elevated canal. That's kind of cool. Okay. So if I were to put my thing there, I'm at 1,750. No, sorry. 311, 314. So it is uphill. So this thing's coming from uphill. Inclined plane. Wait. Is this not just a pump, but like you put a boat in this thing and it ferries them down and then you dump them off over here? Oh, that is so cool. Holy smokes. How did I never know about this thing? So this is like a tram in a puddle of water for these canal boats. Huh? So you put a boat in one of these things? Canal incline plane, the Brussels Shrek Canal province. Open 1968 after a 6-year construction period is located in the municipality of blah, blah, blah. Purpose of construction was to reduce the delay imposed by the 14 locks, already reduced from 16 in the 19th century. Which had there been near the canal. Lay it on me. What does this thing do? Okay, lifts boats 63.73 meters vertically. It consists of 2 large saisons mounted on rails. Each saison, I think I'm saying that right, measures 91 meters long and water depth between 3 and 3.7 meters. It can carry 1 boat, 3 tons. So, yeah, it's a big giant puddle. They put up this tram. Oh, that is cool. So the main canal is down there, and then it dumps them off. Oops, I didn't mean to do that part. It dumps them off up here to this elevated canal, and then they're on like basically like a highway aqueduct. That is cool. How far does that thing go? So now we're at 380 feet. Oh, I dig it. I dig it a lot. That thing's cool, just me. That thing's really cool. Okay. Click, 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 click. Mouse. Click, 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 click. Why my mouse stop working? Working there. Oh, there we go. All right. KL saying CPI 8.3. We'll see who's right. 8.6, 8.3. Bex, if you owe me heating bill, my Greyhound is wearing his coat indoors this winter. I'll be sealing all my windows with shrink wrap and keeping the thermostat low. Yeah, the thermostat's probably kept at 60 degrees, be my guess. People are just going to have to wear sweatshirts because $400 a month for heating oil is a bit pricey. Bit pricey. Touch my camera through the fence? I don't even know what that means, KLDG. Loophole. Bro says you can't talk on PP, but next bridge should be fair game, right? If I start talking next bridge, he's going to be like, you son of a bitch. Loopholes, man. Shibboleth test. Something Shibboleth test. From, I don't know, look at a new window. Gotta drag you over here so I get to the other monitor. Shibboleth test. I don't know a Shibboleth test. Shibboleth test. Any customer tradition, usually a choice of phrasing or even single word that distinguishes one group of people from another. Ah! Okay. I did not know that term there. So BOFH, so what you're saying is that Elon failed a basic Shibboleth test. The idea of a Shibboleth is interesting, rather interesting concept. Might want to look it up on stream. Yeah, so when Elon said Khrushchev's mistake, that is specifically a Russian-centric Soviet idea. So Khrushchev decided to make Crimea part of Ukraine, which you can argue throughout history has been part of Ukraine, and its own independent area, and something that's been taken over Russia at times, but is specifically a thing people refer to after the 1991 referendum when Crimea said, no, we want to remain part of Ukraine, not part of Russia. And it was a slim majority. It was 54% of the population said that, but it was reaffirmed year after year. And so when Elon used that term, he used the term that's specific to ethnic Russians from the former Soviet Union in Russia. And no one else would use that term. So yeah, Shibboleth test. You've just put a wrinkle in my brain there, BOFH. I love learning something new. I'm going to use that all the time now. Yeah, cool. Thank you for that. I love learning something new like that. Shibboleth test, monkey. Yeah. Okay, like we've got a lot that the ape movement use, right? And just the online community of weirdo investors. You know, we talk about hodl or hodl, depending on how you want to pronounce it, to the moon, get on the rocket ship, things like that. That if people are using this language, you know that you're from this particular subset. But if you're talking to somebody outside of it and use those terms, they're gonna be like, "Who are you? What are you talking about?" And they're gonna think you are part of a different group of people because you are. So if you use those terms, you obviously are steeped in that culture. Shibboleth test. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. Let's. Ideas Matter 7707 Houston. Market Moves made a video about what he thinks the price on will be by Saturday. Do you agree? I don't know what they are, and if I could agree, I can't agree because I can't talk about it. So I can't talk about it. B-Ball 3710. Will there be any receipts for the $1 trillion+ that we'll end up sending to Ukraine? I mean, yeah. We're on a Lend-Lease program now, and oftentimes some of that stuff is, yeah, you're going to pay us for it. We do a 90% discount. Other things we just give to them because it's surplus equipment, stuff that's aging out of our own military. But it might be to NATO standards, so it helps slowly introduce them into those NATO standards. But it's cheaper than us going over there and fighting. We would have spent $1 trillion already. Instead, we're at $100 billion or so. And, you know, the arms manufacturers are like, woohoo, because it means we're replenishing our own stock with newer stuff and creating a future customer for American-made weapons, or just NATO-made weapons in general, because there are all sorts of different NATO standards that are making it over there. But, you know, if we were to send our own troops and our own weapons and all that stuff, we'd be looking at several $1 trillion just to, like, set up over there. And I do like the meme that it showed a picture of U.S. aircraft carrier with a whole bunch of, like, F-35s on the deck of it. And it was like, Putin's about to find out why we don't have universal health care. Yeah. Oh, nuclear war is going to suck. Okay. Beach Bum, opinion on the $1 billion judgment against Alex Jones. I mean, Alex Jones learned that you can't be a dick to the jury and really mean to everybody while you're in court and expect them to rule in your favor. He basically offended them. And if he had been apologetic and been like, "Oh, I'm so sorry about this. Like, it was wrong of me. I shouldn't have done it. I apologize." You know, probably would have still been fines in the millions. But instead he was like, "No, I'm glad I did it, and screw you. I'll talk about whatever I want. I'm not sorry. I've said I'm sorry, but I don't mean it, you bunch of dicks." And the jury's like, "Well, that's going to be a big check you have to write." And so $995 million or something? Yeah. I mean, he may have to do some sort of structured settlement, or find some bank or someone that can be like, "Okay, you're going to be paying that off at $100 million a year for this many years," and you may have to do it that way. Scott Lumley, Houston, do you still feel MOAS will go off before the Sears dividend? I don't know, because it depends on how Sears sells their assets. If they can find a single buyer, then it's like done. If they have to sell it off piecemeal over time, it could take quite a while before they amass enough to give like a special dividend to pay off all of their shareholders. I give it 50-50 because right now, finding an institution, bank, fund, or whatever that will have the cash on hand to buy that all at once is probably getting difficult because there's liquidity crunch. Like, people don't have money. And So that part may be hard to find a single buyer for all of those assets. But doing it piecemeal over time is probably watching returns drop like crazy as the real estate market takes a dip as well. So 50% chance for each, one way or the other. If they can find somebody soon to take on everything, it might happen before then. If they can't, well, we might be waiting a while until they get all their assets sold. Jerry Diamond, hey, was Martin Shkreli correct to short AMC at $12? Have you noticed a lot of the AMC influencers getting exposed, promoting AMC after they shorted like Froggy? Tony Denaro name isn't Denaro. Okay. I am very curious to see how many people have sort of left AMC in general. There's been a lot of them. I mean, a year and a half ago, whatever, June of last year, when AMC sold all those shares directly to Mudrick, and Mudrick shorted the hell out of it, and eventually stopped that run before it should have stopped. So it stopped at $77, and then that was it. That was when I didn't buy anymore. I haven't bought any more AMC since then. I've been sitting on whatever I had and holding all the way through. I probably should have sold then and then bought back in when it was low. But a lot of people were mad at me. They were so mad at me. Like, how dare you question Adam Aaron? You sellout, you monster. And now we have all these people that were calling me a sellout and monster who admitted that they sold everything. And like, okay, man. Like, you did your thing. But come on. You know, I find it funny. So people got so mad at me, and I was like, we should get rid of Adam Aaron and change out the board. How dare you? And now they see all these space calls like, we need to get rid of Adam Aaron and change the board. So all these people were really pissed at me for saying that a year ago. So I guess, you know, my crystal ball comes out and I just do my crystal ball thing. I'm just a year ahead of everybody on that part. When something doesn't feel right, you go, that doesn't feel right. I don't like it. I'm not comfortable with that. And I just say it. And then people get mad at me for like, how dare you question them? They are our superiors or something. I'm like, no, that dude's my employee. If you own AMC and it's 85% retail owned, he works for you. He's got to answer to you. And if everything he does is not necessarily to your benefit as the owner of that company, I mean, there's people in this chat right now who probably own an order of magnitude more shares than Adam Aaron has right now. Like, there's some of you in here, I know you have so many AMC shares, just an obscene number of them. And why aren't you CEO of the company? You have a larger ownership than he does. Why aren't you running it? People be weird, man. But Shkreli shorting AMC at $12. I mean, right now he looks like a genius because he can buy back in at $6 right now? What is it right now? Monkey, you're no help. You need to be whispering in my ear what the price of things are right now because I checked earlier, but it left my brain. So AMC is at $5.90, so it's below $6. So he made $6.10 off every single share that he shorted. So, you know, if you short 1 million shares like that, you made $6 million. Buy back in, close your position, done. Yeah, so. Crypto Chris, I doubt the richest man in the world bows to many and doesn't shoot himself in the foot. Sounds like jealousy to me, in my humble opinion. Yeah. I mean, Elon doesn't know shit about anything. And the entire reason he's the richest man in the world is because he grew up in one of the wealthiest families in Africa. His dad owned the largest engineering firm in the whole of Africa. He grew up in the largest house in Pretoria. His mom's a supermodel. His entire first company, X.com, was funded by his dad. His dad was the angel investor in that. And he just happened to be at the point in time when the dot-com bubble was taking off. So yeah, he was able to make a fortune off of it. He doesn't know shit about engineering. He doesn't know anything about space. He doesn't know anything about global politics, geography. He knows nothing. And yeah, he's the richest man in the world, not because he's actually providing goods and services at a level that is qualified as the richest man in the world. He's the richest man in the world because he makes announcements he can never fulfill on. His whole idea behind, the Hyperloop, he admitted that the Hyperloop was a pipe dream that's never going to happen. The entire purpose was whenever someone talked about public transportation, whether it's trains, buses, subways, he would bring up the Hyperloop to stop the conversation. And so people would instead, rather than investing in these trains, buses, and subways, would instead be like, oh, Hyperloop is coming, so I guess we don't have to invest in improving our public infrastructure. We'll just keep building highways and have cars everywhere. That's what he does. He promises, oh, we're going to be on the moon, on Mars in 10 years. We're not going to be on Mars in 10 years. That was 10 years ago. The whole point of going to Mars serves no economic benefit to anybody. It's $1 trillion snuff film. It's silly. We should be going to the moon. We should be going to asteroids because there's so much material to be mined that's economically beneficial that can actually do things like, give us unlimited energy. So we don't have to have power plants pumping out oil and gas smoke and stuff like that, burning coal. We can have radiation-free, greenhouse gas-free, essentially unlimited energy from nuclear fusion if we just went to the moon and mined the stuff. But no, he's like, I don't see any benefit of the moon. I'm going to Mars. Why? There's nothing on Mars. There's no metals to mine. There's no minerals to mine. The soil is absolutely toxic to every human being who gets exposed to it. There's no magnetic field, so you have to be inside of a shield bubble at all times. There's just no point. There's nothing there. You can't even use the soil to grow stuff because it'll kill you. He's just a big dumb dork, and his Twitter deal is so stupid. That's going to cost him so much money. He's the richest man in the world now. He's going to lose half his value and probably his chairmanship of Tesla out of it. Which, the fact that he's the chairman of Tesla and he's got this crazy cult of personality behind him means that's the entire value of the company. But if he has to sell $60 billion in shares in Tesla just to fund his Twitter buy, which will be nothing worth anywhere close to that much money, or he's got to leverage that $60 to $80 billion in Tesla stock to buy Twitter, and then the stock value drops to a trigger point and he loses both Twitter and all that stock, he is out. The rest of the board at Tesla will kick him out and he will no longer be in control of the company. And just doing that alone will drain the company of its fanboys of Elon. And his net worth just goes to like pedestrian billionaire levels. His talking to Putin and then pretty much lying about talking to Putin violates the Logan Act. He is a citizen with special classified clearance, top secret clearance, because of his contracts with SpaceX and the U.S. government. And he is, without permission of the U.S. government, trying to negotiate on behalf of the U.S. government to someone who's basically our enemy. It's a violation of the Logan Act. He could lose his clearance, which means SpaceX could lose their contracts, which means Elon has a space company that now has no value to anyone whatsoever because he can't afford to do the launches himself because he doesn't have the cash on hand to do it. He needs the U.S. government contracts to do that stuff. It's just so dumb. I mean, I think what Elon needs is he needs like 4 attorneys who are complete type A's and will not, like, he's got to confirm with them before he says anything. Does anything. He's like, I feel like I'm going to give Vladimir Putin a call. And they're like, no, for these 6 reasons, you're not going to give him a call. And Elon has to go, okay. Because otherwise, he's got all these yes men around. He's like, I'm going to give Vladimir Putin a call. Hey, Putin, how's it going? What can we do to avert nuclear war? Putin says, well, you know what you do? You need to let Russia have all the places we took. You need to guarantee that water will flow to Crimea. And, everyone back down, give me what I want. And blah, 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 Khrushchev's mistake. And Elon goes, oh, click, 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 send. Look at that. I just solved world problems by caving to a mad dictator. No, Elon sucks. Elon sucks so hard. And he proves it every day. Okay. Don't simp billionaires. Even Ryan Cohen. Like, Ryan Cohen will be a legend, is a legend, but don't simp billionaires. They will eventually fuck you. And we're the little people. We're the peons. They see us as just like turds on their shoe they stepped in. Like, ew, gross. I'm gonna get new shoes. Yeah. All right. I am so far behind. I'm like an hour and a half behind right now in the chat. Kevin Spacey. I don't know where that one came from. Sad Boy Incorporated. Hey, Houston, thoughts on roofing sales? Met a guy over the weekend that makes roughly $1 million a year in commission and is dumb as a rock. Now I feel stupid for not seeing the opportunity. I mean, it might be a good business to get into right now because people aren't going to be able to sell their homes, right? If they can't sell their homes, they got to do things to make the home more sellable. And being able to say there's a new roof on our house makes it much, much easier to sell. Also, people like the last time we had the economy crashed, people weren't able to buy new cars, so they were spending a lot more time getting the cars they had fixed at mechanics. So business boomed for a lot of mechanics during that time. Same thing kind of happened in the last year when cars became hard to buy because of the circuit shortage, chip shortage, and semiconductor shortage. And so a lot of people like, I want a new car, but there's no new cars available for sale. All the used cars got too expensive. So I guess I'll just take this piece of shit I own to the mechanic and they'll fix this thing and I'll drive that for a little while longer till the prices come down. So in that same regard, people are going to be stuck in the houses they're in and they're going to have to fix the problems there are. And if they want to sell that house, it is going to be a buyer's market. So the buyers are going to require, oh, you know what? Why would I pay $300,000 for this house? It's got a roof that's 25 years old. In 5 years, I'm going to have to replace it. So if you want me to consider this house, you should probably put a new roof on the top. So there might be a boom for home maintenance stuff like that. So I don't think that's such a bad idea there, Sad Boy. And $1 million as commissions selling roof, that's wild. Is this dude just sitting in is he cold calling people? Like, hey, man, I noticed it's been 26 years since you had your roof done. Maybe it's about time you did your roof. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know how roof sales works. But go for it, dude. BLFH, I assume anyone with over $50 million has a body count. Whether they pulled the trigger or not is irrelevant. Someone don't get that much wealth without blood in their hands. Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people who got that wealthy are also like sociopaths and psychopaths and narcissists. So they definitely don't feel the same way most other people do. So yeah, they're like, you know what? I don't like that guy. I'm going to pay this guy that much money to go take care of that guy. And there we go. Problem solved. Moving on with my life. I can see that happening. Just in my head. Your guess on CPI tomorrow. Correct answer. And I'll super you $20 next show. I'm saying 8.6. 8.6%. I'm going to lock that in there. 8.6 for tomorrow. I don't know. See if I'm right or wrong. Okay. Oh, Robert Blake. Yeah, he offers some people. Beretta. What was the crazy Phil Spector? He offed some people. Berg. Can we talk about Kerrisdale Capital? What would happen if they are liquidated? They're a short firm, right? So I think they will be forced to close a lot of positions. I don't know if my brother wants me to talk about them or not. He didn't specifically say don't talk about Kerrisdale. I don't like them. I think they're bad people. Them and the Pomerantz law firm that they hired to like do their suits that they use to try and short companies even further. Like, look, they're all tied up in a lawsuit. Oh my gosh, they must be a terrible company. That's kind of how I think they roll. Philip Clayton, morning from UK. Houston, never thanked you for helping me keep my sanity through the COVID lockdowns. Appreciate all you do and your big, beautiful brain. P.S. Nerd. You're welcome, Philip. And thank you. Aaron Salton, Houston, when is T plus 90 date on GME? I think that's next week. I think it's the 19th will be 90 days from when they did their dividend. But again, because of the way the DTCC labeled it a forward split and not a dividend, I don't know if it's going to apply. But if it doesn't apply, that should give GameStop, if they need it and they want it, the ability to say, hey, DTCC, you didn't do what we asked and you didn't fulfill your obligations under this contract, so we want our shares back. I would love to see it happen. I have no idea what the odds are that GameStop would ever do that. But they have, in their prospectuses recently, stated, like, we reserve the right to recall our shares from the DTCC anytime we want, if they aren't working for us. So, Ryan, I know you're at home in a bathrobe watching this thing right now, and you want to do that, don't you? You want to go, you know what? We don't need this antiquated system that's mismanaged by the SEC and has all these self-regulated, conflicts of interest that are there to basically be an organized crime system. We don't need them anymore. We have our own system that's on a blockchain, and we can actually make use of the only useful thing outside of like money laundering, crime, and speculation that the blockchain can be used for, and actually, fundamentally change the entire nature of securities exchange. You're at home going, you know what, Houston, we should do that. We should do that perhaps next Wednesday. Tell DCCC, we want our shares back. We're going to figure out our own way to list them and sell our shares. And then the entire world rejoiced and changed the world forever. Mr. Robot, have you ever read Peter Zihan? He has a lot of YouTube posts. One of the most interesting topics he talks about is the fall of China, secondary to deglobalization and population peaking in 1990. I have not. China is definitely screwed. So they're the most populous country in the world, but even without the one-child policy, they got rid of the one-child policy a few years ago, they still are not repopulating like they should because kids are expensive and everyone has to start working really hard. And, you don't get a chance to have babies, especially when you kill off, entire generation worth of girls, a couple generations worth of girls. There's just an excess of men and not enough women for them. Well, all those women don't want to marry a Chinese guy. They're like, you know what? I'm going to go find myself someone else elsewhere in the world and get the hell out of here. So China's population is supposed to halve in the next 30 years. So by 2050, there's going to be about 600 million Chinese. So it'll be half the population they used to have. It's going to be a really old population. They're projected to age really quickly. And so that means all this construction they've been doing for the last 20 years is going to not have buyers. And so the market's already crashing, right? Because there's just too much construction out there. and too much stuff got built. And now the population is going to shrink. And so real estate in China is going to be worthless. Absolutely worthless. There's going to be ghost towns all over the place. All these small little villages, their children are getting drained and they're going to the major cities. So the rural areas are going to be depopulated at incredible rates. What's that mean for China? It means labor is going to get more expensive. The ability to turn around and build things are going to be a lot smaller because you have fewer people to do it. And they're not going to be able to be an export country like they are now. Plus, they're still stuck with the dollar. As much as they want to get rid of the dollar as the global currency, that's their biggest import is U.S. dollars. Their entire economy is built upon importing U.S. dollars for whatever they're selling. And I just don't see China getting away from that so much. Citizen 54. For first-time astronomers see a black hole spewing stellar remains years after consuming a star. What does this mean? Black holes are like an unwieldy garbage disposal. Basically, you have this gravitational body, and the gravitational body is spinning really fast, crazy fast. Things are being pulled in. They're being pulled in on a plane, so they get this accretion prism around them. But because it's spinning so fast, you have all these moving charges, it makes for these really tight, really laser-like magnetic fields that come out of the poles. And if material is charged, gets stuck in the magnetic field, it can fire out of it, kind of like a full garbage disposal. You flick on the switch, some of that stuff gets ground up and goes down the drain. Some of that stuff gets kind of like scattered and spit out. So think about those magnetic fields coming off the black holes as the garbage disposal going and just spitting stuff out of it. That's what they're seeing when they see that material shooting out after it's consuming a star. Because as that stuff spins in, some of it gets caught in the magnetic field and fired out at great rates of speed. The super huge black holes, like the ones that were the center of galaxies, billions of years ago when galaxies were first forming, those magnetic fields were so gigantic that they managed to basically blast almost all the gas and dust out of some of those galaxies. So you get, you have these giant elliptical galaxies that don't have a single speck of dust left in them. So all the stars are really, really old because there's no new stars forming out of those dust clouds like they do in our galaxy. We've got young stars all over the place in the Milky Way because we've got gas clouds making new supernovas which explode, which make more stars, which make supernovas which explode, and so on. But you look at an old galaxy like, was it M87, one of the elliptical galaxies, and it's old. You see a bunch of like yellow, orange, and red stars. You don't see any bright blue, purple, white ones because they had died out a long time ago and no new ones are being born. Because those black holes were so powerful and their magnetic fields were so insane, they just shot so much gas and dust out into space that they basically hoovered up all the gas and shot it out. Should we start naming MMTLP Lord Voldemort? Can't talk about him either. All right. No enjoys the Discord alternative. Yes. GoAskHouston.com. I need to swing by there this evening and answer some questions. I've been bad this week about doing that. Steve's like, you aren't answering questions, man. Go over there and answer them. I need to go over and answer some questions. And by all means, anyone join and talk about whatever. If you know what I'm going to answer, by all means, throw an answer in there for someone because I might not get to it. Get over there. Hoshi Gaming Houston, after the Moas, the name Ryan will be very popular for newborns, I believe. I'm buying calls on the name Ryan. Ogre Mage Houston with Eric Moore's Sears holding update. His estimates are $100 share cash, 30-ish in stock. He has YouTube vids up with his math explanations. I would love that. That would be fantastic. Kid me, monkey. $100 a share. Sign me up. Right? Callum, what are you specifically prohibited from opining on that ticker? Are you an insider? No, my brother is. Even though he's on a side that has nothing to do with MMTLP, he doesn't want me talking about it. He's focused on making sure that their factory is up and running and ready to go. I think they got like a month or two to finish it. But even then, he's like, just don't. So I'm not. I'm going to respect that. Even though it's really exciting and I want to talk about it, I just can't. So I won't. Okay. No. All right. Okay. Dr. Spurgeon, Sturgeon Surgeon Houston, would you take the one-way trip to Mars? No. I don't. It's like a really horrible way to die. I mean, if for some reason they set up like a colony and they got to go back and forth, I'd think about it. That'd be a year of my life to like get out there, go like, hey, I made it to Mars. This sucks. Hop back on, a year back. That would probably make me go insane, but I might do that. But a one-way trip? No. I would much rather go to the moon or a nearby near-Earth asteroid than go to Mars. Way cooler stuff to look at. How far? I'm an hour and 23 minutes behind the chat. Oh goodness. You guys are, I am. And now here we are to people correcting me that's Gronkowski. Where's Baldo? Long texting coming. I apologize in advance, but I'm about to vent. Okay, I'll look for your where's Baldo. Mooley McWoolhead, good looking ladies in Nashville. A lot of upcoming country stars there. I'm sure there's lots of good looking ladies there. Ooh, what's this? Good fella. Do you take Russian money? I don't think I'm allowed to. Is anyone allowed to take Russian money right now? I don't think we're allowed to take any Russian money. But, I mean, I wouldn't know what to do with it if I did get it. So, no. I do have some old... Where are they? I've got some old Soviet rubles somewhere. One sec. Let me see if I can find them. I think I've got them somewhere. Monkey, what did I do with my rubles? I don't think they're in here. Crap. I don't know what I did with them. Oh, they might be in a box still. Crap, I won't be able to find them. I do. I have old like 1920s Soviet rubles somewhere, and I have no idea where they are right now. Good fella. I'm sending you some. Okay. So it's a P.O. box. Send me old Russian rubles. I'll see them. I'll find them. I think they're in a box still. That I cleaned out my childhood bedroom years ago, and I think they're still in a box I have not unloaded. But I'll find them, monkey. And you will see those rubles, little dog. Okay. Okay. Where did we go? All right. Where's Baldo?
I'm not closing my meme position until I can retire, but honestly, I'm getting fed up. AMC is just losing so much value, and we are getting effed in the A, while supposedly there's millions of FTDs. And it's true. Why is the CEO just chilling and letting it happen? People say, oh, he can't talk about it, but we'll bring trouble. People say, oh, he can't talk about it. The stock or ask questions because it will cause trouble. I'm sitting here thinking, what the fuck kind of system are we in that the CEO can't even ask questions about his company for transparency? Yeah. You're right. I mean, if your stock is being attacked, you should be able to say, hey, my stock is being attacked. It did not stop what's-his-butt at Overstock for 8 years. He was like, my stock is being attacked and it's illegal and needs to stop. And everyone needs to do something about this. Dude didn't go to prison for it, right? If your stock is being attacked, is being shorted, you should be able to say, stop shorting my stock. My company's good. Leave me alone. What you're doing is illegal. Someone needs to investigate you. And every single solitary CEO should be able to say that. If there's a short position at all in your company, you should be able to talk about that. Why? Because it's out there. It's listed. It shows short interest percent. And, prior to recent history, if a stock got to like 30% short, people went, what the fuck? And now we see stocks every single day. 400% short, 95% short, 65% short, 110% short. And we don't blink. We're like, oh, okay. What changed in the mathematics of market fundamentals that made that perfectly okay? The only thing that changed was the lack of enforcement from regulators. That's it. These guys are illegally creating counterfeit shares day in, day out, and the SEC and the DOJ are doing nothing about it. The SEC's got no teeth. They can go, don't do that. Here's a little fine. And they go, oh, no, okay. And they do it again because who cares? It's just a little fine. What are you going to do? Send me to jail? No, you don't have any law enforcement ability, SEC. Congress needs to give the SEC the ability to arrest people and goose step those fuckers out of their office buildings. Just perp walk them. Perp walk them right out of handcuffs and everything and be like, this firm is shut down. Don't be like them. And all the firms go, all right, I guess we're going to close off our terrible short-selling business. And we won't do it anymore because I don't want to go to prison. There needs to be criminal liability for a lot of these guys that had not had before. The SEC needs teeth. They need teeth. They need to make sure people can't bounce back and forth in private sector and SEC. Once you go SEC, that's it. If you leave, you ain't coming back. We're not going to take anyone from private sector. We'll take someone who teaches economics or finance from a college or university, but we're not going to take somebody from Goldman Sachs or Schwab or Fidelity or Citadel or whatever. Those guys are not going to be running the SEC. It's not going to be anybody who worked in that stuff. It might be academics, or it might be someone who's always fought for things at the SEC to try and stop this up. We should stop the back and forth between them. That's it. Pick one or the other. Wantu, happy birthday to you, our mastermind. What would we do without your vigilant streams, printing gains, and exposing crimes? Such utter tenacity. Cheers. Well, thank you, my man. You guys might find somebody else to talk about it. I don't know. But it's been fun. I love coming on here and pontificating with all you weirdos. It's created an aspect of my life I never knew would exist. It's so weird. I think Monkey Butt is like, why do you talk to the wall all the time? But you know what? She's good. Oh, Monkey Butt froze. I just realized Monkey Butt froze again. Monkey Butt, you're frozen in time. At least it's frozen on you this time and not when you're on the floor. It's just an empty little thing there. But Monkey's forever frozen. Elgato face cam, you suck. Why have like a 45-minute lifespan on you? Okay. Oh, it's 11:30. All right. Darren Martinez, Houston. Hi, Dennis Martinez. Darren Martinez. Justice for All. What's Gary Gensler's political affiliation? How is he registered to vote? I'm pretty sure he's a Democrat because he's worked for 2 Democratic administrations. That'd be my guess. He's a registered Democrat. Flaky Booger, I'm blown away that you take this stance against Trump and won't recognize Hillary's corruption or Hunter Biden. Hillary is cleared of everything, man. She went through 11 hours of testimony. They found nothing. They found that she handled documents, the emails correctly, that there was nothing that was classified in there. And that's correct. So, you can be angry that she used a private email server. I don't think she should use a private email server at all. But she did. The email server she had was with the permission of the powers that be. Hunter Biden is not in elected office. I mean, he seems like he's kind of a piece of shit, but he's not president. He's not elected office. He has no power, and everyone knows he's kind of a drug addicted sleazeball. Okay, that's different than the president of the United States stealing nuclear secrets and quite possibly selling them to a hostile nation in return for like $2 billion into his son-in-law's hedge fund, and for him to have tour stops on the LIV tour. And, that's on a level that's completely different. That's not at all. Like, I mean, you're mad at Hillary Clinton for having private email servers when the entire Trump administration was using Proton Mail for their interoffice communications that were against the law. That seems like a double standard, right? Hillary Clinton got in trouble at the State Department for having this private email server, but did maintain records according to law. And the Trump administration had an email server that specifically deleted any communication after it was read. That's not legal. That's against the law. So, double standard much? Plus, he stole a bunch of documents from the U.S. government, and a lot of it was top secret, and he shouldn't have at all. So, big difference. Okay. Dr. Sturgeon, the Sturgeon Surgeon. I tried to send my first super chat, but I can't remember my password. Oh, well. All right. Well, yeah. All right. Great Ape Knowles. Houston, I asked your last show about how Marble Peak, Oregon's Matterhorn, was formed. Can you be more specific how marble forms? Marble is metamorphic rock. So basically, you have limestone. And limestone is anything that's a carbonate material from the ocean. So you can have zooplankton, little tiny little shells. You can have coral reefs, the bones of fish, shells of like clams and crabs and stuff. And they get packed down into a sediment and solidified. That's your limestone. Now, if that limestone gets buried under a whole bunch more sediment and then, cooked over time under heat and pressure, the materials inside of that limestone will recrystallize. And when it recrystallizes, it becomes a marble. And depending on the constituency of the carbonates inside of there, you might get some cool stuff like spinels that come out of it, or other chrysoberyls, things like alexandrites can come out of those materials. And that's your marble. And when it gets exposed in a peak, such as the marble in Oregon's Matterhorn, or the marbles in Tuscany, where people are getting like the really fancy white marbles that Michelangelo's David were made out of. Those marbles and the colors in them will depend upon kind of the bones and creatures that it got made out of, how long it got baked, what kind of pressure it was under. And then it gets uplifted over time as mountain building happens. So you get your earthquakes and stuff smashing into each other, and mountain ranges can build. And stuff that was at the bottom of the ocean millions of years ago can get uplifted to the top of these peaks which is why if you go to the top of Mount Everest, you go up to 30,000 feet top of the Mount Everest, and you can find shell fossils because that used to be ocean floor. So that's basically the way that you cook limestone into marble. And with igneous rocks, like volcanic rocks, the same thing can happen. So you can have like granite, this big volcanic uplift of granite, molten magma comes up and it freezes, it turns into granite. Well, it can get recooked again in under heat and pressure. And if the rock twists and turns, you can get like granite gneiss out of it. And that's a metamorphic version of granite. So if you see like a granite tabletop where the kind of the crystallization is like really swirly, that's granite gneiss. And it's a metamorphic version of that. So it's like recooked old lava rock. You can get sandstones that can recook that way as well and get crystallization in them. But marble's just old sea creatures baked for a long time under heat and pressure. LCB Houston, how are your GME weeklies doing? You going to pull out and roll over next week after? I have 821 calls. I'm beginning to sweat even with RC tweet and 90-day post divvy hype. Mine are, I've got a few that are 821 that I bought months ago, and the rest of them are for the first week of November. So I got a little wiggle room. But like, it's been the pinch green this week, but not the swing I was hoping for, because XRT was on Threshold's list, and I was expecting this week to have a little more punch as the T13s on that happened. And then it's also the T69 this week, which we've seen big jumps at the T69 dates, and OPEX. So, I mean, I guess we'll see Thursday and Friday if it happens to get some green on there. I was expecting more. I was expecting more green to happen with GME this week. Ionoe. Houston, was your hair the influence for Jeff Wingers in his auction tape for MTV's Real World Seattle audition tape? So, you guys don't know Jeff Winger, watch Community. It's Joel McHale's character from Community. Joel McHale, Seattle guy. Class of 88 out of Mercer Island High School. Was in school with my brother-in-law, who was also Mercer Island class of 88. He got his start. Well, he went to UW, played football at UW. He was a walk-on. I don't think he was on the Rose Bowl team in '91, I believe, but I don't think he finished all 4 years at UW, or playing football at least. And then got a job writing for and acting on a little local sketch comedy show called Almost Live, which is hilarious. And then Almost Live, a lot of people from Almost Live went on to bigger and better things. One of them went and wrote an Oscar-nominated film called Nebraska. A couple of the guys went on to become the heads of Comedy Central. One of them did like a syndicated daytime show. What was that guy's name? Ross. Crap, can't remember his name. I taught with the head writer for a long time, John Keister. He taught screenwriting at our institute. He's a funny dude. And then Joel McHale went on to Hollywood fame. He did Talk Soup was his thing, and then started a bunch of movies, and then did Community and a couple other shows. He's a funny dude. And I appreciate him because he's also a tall guy. And there's not too many tall guys in Hollywood. It's like him, Conan O'Brien, Kilborn. That's about it. I think it's the only guys over 6 feet tall in Hollywood. Where's Baldo 614? FTDs shouldn't be a thing either. That still blows my mind. That's actually a thing. They shouldn't. If you fail to deliver a stock, you should be fined so horrendously, and some sort of like points taken off your license or something. Like, you get 5 points, and if you failure to clear a position at the end of trading day, they give you a demerit, take a point off, and I don't know, fine you $1 kajillion so you don't do it again. There you go. Hannibal Grimm, just say it. We somehow ended up in a Roland Emmerich film. Makeup is a great investment during a recession. Heck yeah, man. Oh, well, there it is reset. I am like an hour behind still, but Frozen State Productions. Did people know about the squeeze potential in Overstock, Volkswagen, Piggly Wiggly back in the day? Oh, man. I don't know. I think Overstock, yes, because what's that guy's name? The Overstock dude. Can't remember his name right now. Overstock, yes, because he was talking about being illegally shorted for years. And they came up specifically with their crypto dividend to fight that. So I think folks who were in the know then knew about it, but there wasn't as wide an audience as there is now aware of these short plays. And I think because for the last 30 years, these short hedge funds have kind of wantonly shorted everything they possibly can. And there's so many of them, there's almost too many of them. We talked about this before. There's like too many predators and not enough prey. So one short hedge fund starts shorting somebody and everyone else jumps in and starts shorting them as well. So all of a sudden, it quickly goes from 10% short to like 150% short and then a short squeeze. And it happens again and again and again and again. And now we have entire communities on Reddit for the last year and a half who are specifically seeking out these short squeeze plays and making them happen. And it's chipping away at the assets of these hedge funds, and they're losing money like crazy. So we're going to cull a whole bunch of these predators at some point. And I think now more than ever, people are attuned to these short squeeze plays than they ever were before. There might have been a few insiders that were like, well, this is going to squeeze. Porsche, I think, because Porsche owns so much of Volkswagen, they're probably pretty aware of what they were doing. And the only reason they relinquished and sold shares was because basically all the markets were like, please just sell some. And Porsche was like, all right, we'll sell some shares. But yeah, it's I think we're in a different era now all of a sudden than we ever were in before. All right, I'm gonna scroll down. If I miss your chats, I'm sorry. I apologize, but my voice is starting to go here, and it's 11:43 at night. So, yeah. DVS from Australia is here. Yeah, not a lot of green this week for FTDs on XRT. OPEC's possible run is 24th, 26th. If we get slammed down next week, that makes a run more likely. Okay. All right. BOFH, my strategy is to wait for the run, sell cover calls on GME at the top, and buy them back close to a tidy profit after the shorting resumes. That's a good way to short, or opposite of short. I don't know what you'd call that. But yeah, not such a bad idea. Okay. Hughes turd dingleberries. All right. Okay. All right. Monkey butt. You ready, buddy? Wait, I saw something about Shatner. Where'd that go? I just missed it. Something about William Shatner, and I just missed where it was. I scrolled past it. Now I can't find it again. I'm curious to see. Oh, from J.H. Houston, did you see the William Shatner letter or interview from his trip to space? I read the interview. I saw a little documentary he made on Amazon Prime. My friend Sarah, who's the Capcom Capital Command person, she got to be in that, and she sort of teaches them how to be astronauts as well. Yeah, he basically talked about like profound sadness he had looking out into the deepness of space and realizing like there's nothing out there. And that's the overview effect. That is something that really hit the first astronauts, especially the ones that went around the moon on Apollo 8. When they looked down, they're going around the dark side of the moon, or the far side of the moon technically, and they're looking at this lifeless landscape. It's just gray and bleak, and there's nothing there. And they come around and they see Earth rise, and they see this tiny little blue dot off in the distance where everything that has ever happened exists. Everyone who's ever loved, died, prayed, gone to war, had success, won a trophy, every piece of history we've ever known has happened on this tiny little dot floating in the blackness of space where everything wants to kill you. And all we've ever known is this little dot. And it does something to their brain where they're like, you know what? Borders don't matter. Politics don't matter. Ain't nothing matter. All we have is this little blue dot alone out in the blackness of space. And, what do we do with that? And so the astronauts created Overview Society, which is a group for people who have been to space and have had this profound experience realizing like, oh, you can't see borders from space. It's just one continuous chunk of land and a bunch of ocean, and we're all one people. And it is, there's Soviet cosmonauts, American astronauts, members of the European Space Agency, now private citizens who are going up into space, and all of them are having their brain is something's going on and it's going click. Like, oh my goodness, my life is different now because I've been able to like see the inky blackness of space and then the pale blue dot of Earth. And I am fundamentally changed by that. And, William Shatner's 90 years old. The dude has lived his entire life pretending to be in space, but even that fleeting moment of weightlessness, seeing the curve of the Earth, looking out the opposite direction into the inky blackness of space, had a fundamental change on his psyche. And he was like, oh, this is all there is. And that, we can learn about it, we can read about it, we can talk about it. But I think it's one of those things that if you don't actually experience it yourself and feel that moment of like helpless isolation so far removed from everybody else, you just, you can talk about it in theory, but there's something that happens to your psyche that won't happen to you until you actually experience that. And I think there's something, profound about that. And I think a lot of folks, and it's going to be a lot of rich folks are going to experience that, but not so much from future, a lot of really, really poor folks are going to experience that. Once we start sending groups to go mine the moon and asteroids, it's not going to be the rich guys. It's not going to be Captain Hero of the Air Force. It's going to be, Raul, who's from some favela in Brazil, and he's got not much to look forward to, and he's poor, and he's going to take a job to go work on the moon for 6 months or whatever, and he's going to see that pale blue dot from the surface of the moon. He's going to be like, fuck, that's all there is. Like, I'm an anomaly fighting the elements of space to survive all day for the next several months, and then I've got to go back to Earth and try to explain this profound isolation I felt out here in the death zone of the moon. It's crazy. It's really weird to try to put yourself into those people's shoes. Like we can talk about all day long, but until it happens to you, I don't know if you really, really can understand it. Michael Harrow, Houston, I think skydiving can profoundly change people like that. Those people, like people went into space. Yeah, because you're looking out over everything, and you're this helpless little thing with the greatness of the Earth. But the Earth is so tiny compared to everything else. Moki123G, watch the Top Gear with James May flying the U-2. Describes what you just said. Yeah, because the U-2 is flying at, 80, 100,000 feet? and they get overview effect. You got to wear a spacesuit. The suits that you wear to fly U2 is the same suit that they gave John Glenn when he in the Mercury missions. They had the same pressure suits. All right. Okay, Monkey Butt. Now that we've left everybody with overview effect, let's call our evening. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and hanging out and chit-chatting. We will see you Friday. And I guess we'll see how the stocks I cannot name do as they continue along. I'm hoping for some good stuff. And GME, let's get some green by Friday. Come on, green by Friday, green by Friday, green by Friday. Until then, I guess we're just waiting again. Cool. All right, everybody. That sounds awesome, right, Monkey Butt? All right. I'll see you guys all later, and I'll leave you with one of these.